Is that better? Can you all hear me now? Oh, it's a bit noisy, isn't it? Right, welcome everyone. I'm Councillor Dorrington, Cabinet Member for Children, Families and Education. Before we start, if we can just do a little bit of housekeeping, please. So if we hear a continuous fire alarm sound, please could we evacuate the room and the public gallery by the stairwell. Please do not attempt to use the lifts, and please assemble by the statue of Queen Victoria, wrong lady, in the Guildhall Square. Anybody who's signed in, can they please sign out at reception on their way past? As long as it's not on fire, obviously. Live web streaming. So if I could draw everybody's attention to the fact that this meeting is webcast to allow the public to attend remotely if they wish to do so. Please be advised that the public seating area is not in view of the camera used to webcast this meeting, and anybody speaking will be on camera apart from those sitting to my right, and there isn't anybody today. Members of the press and public are permitted to record the meeting on the understanding that it neither disrupts the meeting nor records anybody who explicitly states they do not wish to be recorded. Please can everybody use their microphones, that includes myself, and remember to switch them off when they are finished. So we'll start with some introductions. If I can start with the councillors first, please.
Councillor Tom Coles, Fratton Ward.
Councillor Russell Simpson, Hilsey Ward.
Afternoon, guys. And then we'll move on to the officers, please.
Angela Mann, Finance Manager for Children, Families and Education.
Mike Stoneman, Deputy Director, Education.
Alison Critchley, Head of Sufficiency and Resources in Education.
Kate Mullen, Head of Inclusion, Education.
Debbie Anderson, Head of School Improvement and Early Years, Education.
Hi, I'm Mark Jatt, Head of Service for Children We Care For.
Wrong button. Hi, Keely Mitchell, Head of Adolescents and Young Adults for Portsmouth City Council.
I'll just give these two ladies a chance to sit down before we move on to the back row.
Sarah Daly, Director of Children's Services.
And Sam Bushby, Deputy Director for Children and Families.
Hello and welcome to everyone. Deputations, I don't believe we have any. So we'll move straight on if that's okay. Are there members who have any interest to declare?
My brother works at the Portsmouth Academy now, so I thought I'd better declare that.
Thank you very much. And now we'll move on to item 3 if we can, and I'll invite Mark.
Hi, I'm presenting the proposed update to the carers' fees and allowance policy for 25-26. It's an annual review, essential for ensuring our fostering offer remains competitive, sustainable and responsive to the needs of both carers and also the children they support. Nationally, we face a continued significant shortfall in foster carers, and in 24, the UK needed 6,500 more fostering households. With over a 3-year period, England seeing a net loss of nearly 3,000 carers. In Portsmouth, we're not immune to this challenge. Whilst we perform better than many authorities, we still see children, or some children, placed far from home, separated from siblings, or in costly placements. So we need to ensure that we're doing all we can to promote fostering in our Portsmouth community. The policy review is part of a broader strategy to recruit and retain foster carers locally, ensuring that they remain in their communities, attend the same schools, maintain vital relationships. You'll see in the report there are a number of minor changes proposed, but if I highlight maybe the 3 key ones. The first one is in relation to holiday allowance flexibility. So what we're proposing is a minimum holiday duration of 4 nights, change from 7 nights, making it more accessible and responsive to carers' feedback, and that's the £500 allowance. The second key proposal is an intensive fostering bridging pilot. This has actually already been approved, but that's just to note that it's within the policy, and that will be offering £1,000 per week to trauma-informed carers for children with some specific complex needs. And the third area I draw your attention to is refer offend incentive. The referral rewards been increased to £1,000 for the referrer only, and extended to all permanent council staff as well as the foster carers. There's no legal implications arising from the changes. Financially, the only area of potential increase is in relation to the holiday allowance. However, based on previous uptake, we don't anticipate exceeding the approved budget, but of course we'll monitor that closely. So in conclusion, the policy updates reflect our commitment to supporting foster carers and improving outcomes for children, and it's shaped by consultation with carers and professionals and aligns to our wider strategy of providing stability in local homes for children and also value for money. So I recommend that the Cabinet member approves the proposed changes to the policy, but also delegates authority to the Director of Children, Families and Education to approve future annual amendments, provided that there's no financial implication. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? So, in summing up, given everything that I've heard and everything that I've looked at, I think it is very important that we constantly review these things to retain people within the industry and also to try and bring some more people in to give much needed care to some of the most vulnerable people in our community. So with that, I am happy. Is there some certain wording that I need to say? Has anyone else got any comments? That's handy. So have I got to read all this out? Apologies, it's my first time.
So it's just the recommendations here, that these two that you.
Right.
So I approve the proposed changes, and I agree that delegated authority.
Wonderful. So I can confirm that I approve the proposed changes to the Carers Fee and Allowance Policy 2025-26, and I agree that delegated authority is with the Director of Children's, Families and Education to improve the nature of annual amendments to the policy if there is no associated financial implications. Now on to item 4, and I believe, Mark, that's you again, is it?
It is, yes, indeed. Thank you. So the second policy is a review and build on the original carers adaptation policy that was introduced in 2020. And to date, it's enabled 10 children with complex needs to remain with their carers through home modifications. In April 25, a successful capital bid of £200,000 for this financial year was made to support the new policy, and the scheme approved as part of the capital programme. The revised policy introduces 3 key changes. The first is an expanded focus. We're now including adaptations and extensions not just to meet individual children's needs, but also to focus an increase in terms of fostering capacity. And this would, for example, include options like loans for garden cabins for family members to free up bedrooms in the home for foster children. In July 24, we carried out a survey of mainstream foster carers, and that demonstrated the potential to expand our fostering capacity within our existing caring community, which is clearly really valuable. The second area is just a more simplified process, so we've streamlined the application and approval process, making it clearer and more accessible for carers, whilst maintaining strong governance and financial oversight. And the third area of recommended change is around delegated authority, and that's for approval of projects up to £100,000 to be granted by the Deputy Director and the Section 151 officer, removing the need for portfolio holder sign-off, and that will ensure that the projects are implemented as soon as possible. So this policy, primarily about stability, permanency for children that we care for, and by investing in homes to ensure children remain with their carers and also new placement opportunities, will reduce the reliance on costly out-of-area placements, avoid residential care where possible, and ensure that children can grow up in familiar communities. So I'd recommend approval for those amendments and also the delegated authority as outlined.
Once again, thank you very much, Mark. Are there any questions? Yes, Tom.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, mate, you're behind me.
Hello.
It's a bit of a weird one. Is the work carried out in-house or do we subcontract for that?
That will be carried out by the carers themselves. So they
okay.
will, commission their own work. There's various, obviously, due diligence that will ensure is in place. We'll ask for a number of quotes that will cross-reference. So there's a process around it, but we'll be asking carers to, source their own
that makes sense.
constructors.
Oh, thank you for that. It's
Thank you.
a really good news story
Yeah,
from my
thank
point
you
of view.
very much.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions? And before I sum up, does anyone have any comments? So once again, thank you for that, Mark. Taking into account everything that I've heard and knowing the financial constraints at the moment, I think it's a really good idea that we try and expand upon our existing framework as and where we can, and certainly the notion that we will be able to give carers themselves the ability to source contractors, as long as we support them in that process. I think that will enable us to get real value for money, and certainly keep as many children as we can in places that we have a track record of a really good caring environment, and also there's some benefit for the carers themselves, so it feels like a win-win in all scenarios. So with that, I will approve the amendments to the Home Adaptation and Extension Policy for Carers, and I will give the delegated authority to the Deputy Director for Children, Families and the Director of Finance and Resource to approve individual business cases in line with financial rules. Next page. So number 5, I believe that's yourself, Sam, is it? My apologies.
Afternoon. The purpose of this report is to inform the Cabinet members and other elected members within Portsmouth City Council of the outcome of the recent Ofsted focus visit, well, not so recent, took place in February 2025. And I hope you've all had an opportunity to read the document and also the letter that was provided by Ofsted itself. So following the 2023 ILAC inspection, an extensive improvement plan was developed to with oversight of the Corporate Parenting Board, and this was a plan to improve and raise some of the issues that had been raised as part of the first inspection. The implementation was led by the Multi-Agency Strategic Group, which is chaired by the Deputy Director of Children's Services, and the plan had been regularly reviewed by the group to assess progress and impact. There was also the additional scrutiny of Corporate Parenting Board and Children's Services DMT, led by the Director of Children's Services. So I had really good oversight to understand what we were doing to improve outcomes for our care experienced young people. In February 2025, Ofsted carried out a focus visit in respect of the service. So they came to meet with our personal advisors and to understand kind of the progress that we were making for our care experienced young people. They acknowledged that significant improvements in service for care experienced young adults in Portsmouth had been made, which was really positive. In their subsequent published letter, they talked about how they'd seen a clear commitment from senior leaders and elected members to enhance outcomes for care experienced young people, particularly in their transition to adulthood. They found significant improvements had been made in the housing opportunities, which was really positive and something we continue to build on. They judged that the corporate parenting arrangements have been strengthened, with priorities being informed by the views of care experienced young people, so they were part of our corporate parenting. We took into account the feedback from Feedback February and was able to enhance kind of our performance and our planning with that. They also noted that care experienced young people have been part of the development of the new pathway plan, so that co-production was really positive and they could see that. In terms of practice, they observed that personal advisors maintain regular contact with their care experienced young adults appropriately, adjusting the visits frequency to meet the individual needs and circumstances. They felt that was really positive. They also talked about the relational practice that they could see with their PAs, between the PAs and the care experienced young people. They found that care experienced young people were well supported to build their independent skills through a broad variety of programmes. They commented on our new local offer, which was co-produced with Care Experience Young People and had recently been published. And this included increased setting up home allowances and access to bus passes, support towards independence, council tax exemption to young people up to the age of 25, regardless of where they lived, and a rent deposit scheme. And they found that to be a really positive outcome for our young people. The local inspectors recognised the significant work that had been undertaken by Portsmouth local authority to develop a comprehensive employment, education and training offer for our young people. And while they could see that was really positive, and for some young people had some amazing outcomes, what we know and what they identified that is, there's a lot more work to be done, and that's something that's part of our plan for the next coming year. We know that most of our vulnerable young adults are not accessing education, employment and training, and we've got plans in place to encourage young people. We know that actually, even though they have significant mental health, for example, being in some kind of education, employment and training will actually build on their mental health. So we've got a real strong package for them, and that's how we will develop over the next year. They talked about our leadership, so the PAs spoke positively about their team leaders, their service leader, and were really positive about the support they got through them as well. And they additionally talked about our performance management framework, which had really strengthened over the last couple of years, and it was given a much clearer line of sight to the difference the practice was making to our young people. And what we heard from young people was that they agreed with that. So when Ofsted spoke to them, they were able to talk about the improvements they could see, which was really positive. So, as I said, we recognise that we've got work to do around our young people, our children in education, employment and training, and we will continue to build on that. We're certainly not sitting on our laurels. This is not okay, you did okay. This is you've made great progress, and we've got lots more to do to get to outstanding, but that's what our plan is. So this is just to raise your awareness of the recent visit, which we found to be positive. It supported what we hoped and what we saw as our service, and also gave us a lot more to focus on in the future.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions at all? No? So in summing up, any comments?
Just obviously well done in building it up. I mean, the thing of Ofsted, as we discussed previously, actually, when if people don't know, we have pre-meetings too on these subjects. So there's sometimes when we don't always have questions or comments, is because there's been things that's already been asked beforehand. That's then obviously added to the report sometimes if that is something that's highlighted. But I think with Ofsted, it's been quite a roller coaster over the years, and of changes of what requirements are to have a good Ofsted report, and I think that's also been changing as well with the new government a little bit. So I think the good thing about Ofsted is it kind of points out what is where the gaps are, what could be better, what could be improved, and even when things are very good, how they could even be improved. So I have no doubt that with the team they will succeed in getting the outstanding.
Thank you. Any more comments before I sum up? Yes, Sam.
I just want to add, I think reflecting the comments there is what Ofsted are is they reflect about what they see. At the time they came before, we were aware ourselves of the improvements that we wanted to make and needed to be made. We've obviously made those, and it was great to see Ofsted recognise that, so we were incredibly pleased to hear it. And just as an add, I want to add my thanks to Keely for her leadership in leading those improvements. Thank you.
Has anyone else got any comments they would like to make? So in summing up, I just want to reiterate some of the things that we've heard today, really. I know how scary it can be when Ofsted kind of throw these almost inspections upon us, and nobody likes to be scrutinised or have anything that they've really worked hard on be picked apart by a body where they don't quite, maybe they're not sure of the criteria because it's already changing, and I can see how anxious that makes everybody. But I think this is testament about how good we really are at Portsmouth, because not only have Ofsted given us good reviews on everything, anything that they've picked up we were already aware of. So they haven't told us anything that we don't already know, which really proves the benefits of multi-agency working, so us all working together as one team, and also listening to the voices of our young people and acknowledging the fact that they have a voice, it will be heard, and we will act upon it as appropriately. So I just want to say thank you, and well done to all of you for the work that you've put in. Right, that brings us to number 6, which is the LA maintained school balances, and I believe that's Alison.
This is an annual report to show the year-end position for maintained school balances for both revenue and capital as at the end of 31st of March 2025. Section 4 details the position on the revenue balances, showing balances have decreased by 0.9 million, and that's mainly due to a capital scheme going ahead. So schools will often keep their revenue balances, the planned spend for capital will be kept in their revenue balances, because schools can transfer from revenue to capital, but they can't transfer capital to revenue. So the secondary school, which had the planned scheme, had kept the balances in their revenue and then released it when required during the financial year. The number of schools who saw an increase in balances remained stable at 10, and 7 schools saw a decrease in balances. The council does do interventions and monitoring, and that's detailed in section 5 with a review of the schools with reducing excessive balances, and it also shows the responses that we've had from the schools regarding our contact with them. Capital balances are detailed in section 6, and that only shows the decrease of 50,000, which, like I said, there's been capital going on, but the way schools need to use their funding means that only 50,000 was the change for those capital reserves. And I'm happy to take any questions you have.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions for Alison? Does anyone have any comments? Right, so to sum up on finances, this should be fun. From what I've been informed and from what I see, I think we do pretty well on the finances in the city, given the tight financial straits set with us, and I think we do very, very well, so I thank you for the report. Now, item 7, which is the SEN needs, and that one's over to you, Mike.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, obviously you've seen this report before, so I'll be fairly brief, but the purpose of this report is to provide an update on the work that's taken place since we held the Schools Forum workshop back on the 4th of March, where we looked at the growing number of children with special education needs, and particularly the growing complexity of that need, and how we could manage pressures on the high needs block of the DSG. Significantly, we are seeking Cabinet member approval for additional investment in mainstream primary in order to support those children with complex SEND and who meet the threshold for a specialist school place, and that follows endorsement by Schools Forum at their meeting on the 4th of June. The detail of this is set out in paragraphs 3.3 to 3.13. I will just briefly cover this recommendation in a moment. The report also asks the Cabinet member to note the increase in the higher needs funding rates for the City of Portsmouth College, as set out in paragraphs 3.14 to 3.15, and then also provides a high-level summary of the various pressures and areas of uncertainty in respect of high needs block, and flags the possibility that a transfer of funding between the schools block and the high needs block may be required within the next 2 years. And that's set out in 3.16 to 3.22. Turning to the recommendation and the approval of investment, this relates to a 3-year programme over 4 financial years to support mainstream primary settings. This comprises additional investment directly into schools that are admitting pupils who meet the threshold for a specialist school place, alongside some additional support that we are going to provide through an expanded inclusion outreach service. We are proposing that this initiative focuses primarily on the primary phase, because that is where the vast majority of children are who meet this threshold, a small number in secondary. And the proposals include additional funding of £4,000 per pupil for children who the specialist placement panel agree should have been in a specialist school place. And that funding would remain with the school for as long as the child was at that school, up to a maximum of 3 years. I've mentioned the expanded inclusion outreach service, an additional investment of £90,000 per year, ensuring support for the child, the school and the cohort as a whole, with pupils receiving regular visits from that service. And then in 3.12, we just set out the costs of that investment, which is 1.725 million over 3 years, 3 academic years, and we've broken that down over the 4 financial years in that paragraph. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mike. Does anyone have any questions? And does anyone have any comments? Hey, Russell.
Yeah, just that it's very important that we support children with special educational needs at an early age, but also then help make sure they have the options to continue to further education. It's definitely something that I personally experienced, but also have seen, you know, children stop because they don't feel they're going to get the help that's needed. And, you know, I always hope that university will eventually adopt something as well, because it sometimes you find that the kind of the journey ends at college. But I think it's sometimes it's about recognizing it before you get to college. You know, some kids will have real difficulties in learning, and they won't even know until they're at college because they haven't been tested at junior school or secondary school. So I think the money and the need is great to help everyone have an equal opportunity to progress in their educational journey.
Wonderful, thank you. Are there any other comments?
Thank you, Chair. It's great to see. As just to echo Councillor Simpson's comments, it's great to see the through funding for post 16. And if you want to help with me campaign to the university, I'd happy to go on to that. But as you know, I'm always keen to see improvements in SEND provision, and this is great to see coming forward. So thank you very much to everyone involved.
Just one point to make, which I probably should have made. We do see this as temporary, so it's a 3-year programme. What we don't want to do is normalise something which is not sustainable or normal. We are hoping that the increase in the specialist school placements that we are planning for at the moment will meet some of this need, and that will reduce that pressure, and also some of the other work we are doing to address the pressures on the high needs block will also help. So it is very much temporary, and I hope that in 3 years' time we'll be in a much better position where we don't have to do this.
Just to add, Chair, but it's going to be 3 years of that kind of generation that's going to have that support, and hopefully from that data it will justify us having it for other years. So I hope that with this funding there's also the data taking to see how much improvements have gained from this initial funding and how many have progressed further because of it. I mean, that's the aim at the end of the day. We all want children and students to progress onto, as I said, further education and higher education.
Are there any further comments? Thank you. So, looking at the work that the college does, they do a very good job in our city, and I believe it's been some time since we've actually done a financial review with them and looked at the costs and the figures, and as I think everybody's aware, things have gone up. Everything's gone up. So I'm pleased to see that we've done an extensive review on cost and figures, and came to the conclusion that those figures did need looking at and did need changing, and have been able to agree a figure with the college that we know is the correct figure, but to acknowledge what they've done, and to help them during that review to make sure that it was right. Secondly, with regards to the the money for the schools. It's really difficult from what I can hear from the schools for some of these children coming through, and it costs more and more and more with the more children that they have. Obviously, in an ideal world, many of these children wouldn't be in mainstream. They would be in specialist places, but unfortunately, the constraints we have at the moment, we don't have those specialist places yet. So it's important that we support the schools, and as the hope is that if we support the children at a young age, it may have a cost benefit later on because they don't slip through the net, they don't go further down the line. I was very privileged to be able to attend the schools forum and to hear or see the reaction from some of the schools about the fact that firstly we have listened to them, we have acknowledged that there's a real issue there at the moment, and that we're offering a level of support which they've accepted. So I just think across the board, it's a really good idea. So with that, I will try and get the wording correct on this one. The Cabinet member, which is me, approves the additional investment in mainstream primary, infant and junior schools from September 2025 as set out in paragraphs 3.3 to 3.13 in order to support pupils with SEND who meet the threshold of a specialist school place but are due to capacity issues cannot be placed in such setting, and note the increase in higher needs funding rate to the City of Portsmouth College for 2024-2025 and 2025-2026 in respect of the post-16 students with SEND and a methodologically used as set out in paragraphs 3.14 and 3.15. I believe that's that. There's more? Right, bear with.
Yeah, sorry, Councillor.
Yes,
Should have cut it back.
There's 3 more paragraphs. We could be here a while.
They're all for noting, but anyway.
Right. Note the reduction in dedicated schools grants DSG surplus balance from 11.5 million to 11.1 million before approved comments, and note there is a considerable uncertainty within the DSG forecast for 2025-2026, and that a reserved budget will be prepared for schools forum meeting on the 8th of October 2025, which will incorporate the changes set out in this report and any further changes endorsed by School Forum in July. Note that the significant growth in the number of children with educational health and care plans, EHCPS, in Portsmouth means that the high needs block of the DSG will continue to come under pressure, and that a transfer of funds between the schools block and the HNB is likely to be required within the next 2 years. All good? Fantastic, thank you. So with that, I believe that concludes our meeting. So thank you to everybody for attending, and we are closing at, I'll make that 4:33. Lovely, thank you very much.